Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing today? And let's just start this off with a huge thank you to Imon Economist. Thank you very much for the raid. I was tempted to start it a little earlier, but yeah, I stick to my times. I stick to my times. Hello, Photostyle as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Who else can I see here? K double K. Good to see you too. Kath, Winter Resurrected. I do not know you, I'm afraid, but thank you very much. Fire a Broadside. Thank you so much. Lurking is absolutely allowed, but thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Let's do an actual intro. Rather than me just kind of winging this. So hello, for those who don't know me, my name's DC Bradshaw. I guess a technical term, variety streamer. Do I come into that category? Who knows? Let's say yes. Why not? What do I do? So I'm a tabletop RPG writer, designer. People know me from things like Little But Fierce and Hardboiled Adventures. I host regular streams Monday, Wednesday. Mondays are lunchtime geeky chats. Wednesdays, much the same, but generally I'll play like an app version of a board game or something like that at the same time. In the last one of them, I was playing Warlock of Firetop Mountain, the classic fighting fantasy choose your own adventure gamebook style thing. Which was an awful lot of fun. I do occasionally do video game streaming as well, haven't of late due to general busyness. And I also host a fortnightly bite-sized interview show called Shought Thorts, where I interview various people from the gaming industry, both tabletop RPGs and the wider gaming industry as well. So check that out if that is of interest. Each episode is like 15 minutes long, so it is perfect for a little focus break or something to watch or listen to while you're having your lunch or your breakfast or something like that. So thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for the raid, Imon Economist. I really appreciate it. Okie doke. Well, what's been going on? So, various bits and pieces. So, personally, I'm knackered. I'm absolutely exhausted. It's a busy time. Still, day job is very, very busy right now. I've said before, I've recently changed roles. There's been an awful lot of wrapping up my old role while hitting the ground running with my new role and trying not to fall over while I do it. Equally, it is almost the summer holidays. My wife teaches. So it's been very, very busy in our household, and we're getting ready all the bits and pieces because our little one starts school in September. So various bits and pieces I need to do, like I need to send various forms to them about contact information and food and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, various bits and pieces going on in the Bradshaw household. So we're all tired. We're very, very tired, but we're managing. What else happened? Unless you've been intentionally hiding under a rock, political stuff. Let's not spend too long on this one because I talked a little bit about this last week. But in the UK, we had a general election, which kind of went, largely speaking, the way we expected. So, for those out with the UK, we've had the Conservative or Tory party have been in power here, sometimes in coalition, but 14 years. So we've had an increasingly right-wing party in control for a very, very long time. Even through Brexit and all of that, and after that, they were in power for a very long time. And now it has swung back, not quite the other way, but it has, things have changed, or things are certainly going to change. We had the Labour Party get an extraordinary number of seats. So they are kind of centre-left, a little bit more right than they used to be, but still not right-wing party. And so I think we expect to see some change here over the next however long. So that's exciting. Didn't happen everywhere. I, unfortunately, I'm in one of the 5 places in the UK where the Reform Party, which used to be the Brexit Party and is more or less the old UKIP party, managed to get a seat. So I'm not terribly happy about that. So they, again, without going too far down this rabbit hole, they are a far-right party who managed to get in my constituency. So that's not fun. So I expect to be writing many letters to my new MP over the next however long, expressing my disappointment with the things they are undoubtedly going to try and do or say that don't represent my views. But we will see what happens. We will see what happens. And then, politically speaking, we had some good news yesterday. Again, for those not intentionally hiding from political things, and I totally understand if that's what you want to do, news from France, which is exciting. So the whistle-stop tour of this one, there was the EU elections a few weeks back, and the far-right parties did rather well. So my headphones are really tangled here for some reason. Who knows why? So yeah, the far-right parties did rather well, which was concerning. And then Macron, the president of France, called a snap election to basically take the temperature of France, which was a bit of a gamble. Essentially, it was a, do you really want the far-right parties in or not? Because if you do, just say so. But if you don't, please just say so as well. And that was looking scary. I don't know a huge amount about the French voting system, but from my understanding of it, they essentially do two different polls with it. They do a first one and then a second one. I'm not quite sure the difference between the two. I should probably find out. But the first one, everything indicated the fact that the far right were going to do very well, which I think was a wake-up call to a lot of people. And then exit polls that came out last night, as the polls closed on the second vote, was that it's actually swung the other way. You know, the far right still look like they're going to get quite a few seats. But actually, the coalition of left and far left parties look like they are going to get the most seats, which is great. It's really nice to see something indicating that there's going to be a swing away from the increasing encroach of the far right, which is very, very promising. You know, we're not there yet. It's really hard to understand electoral systems in other countries. I'm eligible to vote in Italian elections. I have no clue how the system works. It is a funny old thing. It really is. We in the UK, we are kind of one of the big problems with how it works in the UK. The Westminster elections that we've just had is it's first past the post, which essentially means that when a party gets enough votes in a particular seat, they win that seat. So if they get the majority, they win that seat. But essentially, anyone who didn't vote for that party, their vote was kind of wasted. So you can end up in a situation like what we had here. Actually, before I get onto that bit, so that wins you a seat, and then they look at the most number of seats, and you figure out whether there's a majority or not. But what the result of that is, you can end up with these kind of let's use the horrible numbers, 52%, 48%, even though it's never that. But let's say it was. If you have 52% in one area vote for a particular candidate and 48% vote for someone else, the 52% get the seat. And the 48%, even though it was bloody close, essentially it counts for nothing. It may as well have been 3% or 0%. So what you had here is you had the Labour Party get 410 seats out of... how many do we have? I should know this. I've been staring at the bloody numbers for so long. But they essentially got about 2/3 of the seats. But they only got about 1/3 of the vote. So, yeah, 650 odd, absolutely. Yeah, so 410 out of 650, so about 2/3. Which is very good for the Labour Party, but we've been hit by that before. Like when the Conservatives have won in previous elections, they've got a huge number of seats when they didn't get, that far ahead in terms of actual popular vote. And it means that for the smaller parties, you end up with really weird stuff going on. Like the Reform Party, they got not an insignificant share of the votes, but only got 5 seats. Now, I'm quite glad of that because I don't want them to have a foothold, but it's not exactly fair. There was a referendum a while back about moving to a proportional representation system, but that basically got just destroyed by PR stuff. Whereas in Scotland, for the Scottish government, Scottish Parliament, it's not proportional representation, but it's a similar sort of thing. Essentially, how theirs work. It's a little bit complicated, but it's almost a kind of middle ground. They similarly have kind of seats, but then based off of groups of seats, they look at the general spread and they fill up extras based on the rest, kind of. So it's almost as if you go, right, there's 10 seats for this area there's 10 seats awarded for an area, so that's got 5 locations. So the 5 locations go on a first past the post system, and then the other 5 are made up proportionally of the general mix, with a kind of balance here of if you actually won the seat already, we bump up everyone else a little bit because you already won 1 seat, so you're not going to get the other one again by proportion. So it kind of gives you more of a balance of representation. Which actually means in Scotland it's very hard for one party to just wipe the floor. So when the SNP did a few years ago and nearly got every seat in the Scottish Parliament, that was just incredible, the fact they managed that. So it's a funny old system, but we don't have electoral colleges and stuff like that. They've suggested that here, but it sounds like an awful system. Yeah, it's difficult to find one that really does work, because you want everyone to feel like their vote is heard, but equally you don't want to, but also you don't want a situation where it can feel like, oh, they should have won there, but it's been bumped up so that proportionally works across the country. It's a very hard. You need to have that mix of a location has an MP or a representative, but across the country, when you form a government and form a parliament, it needs to kind of balance out. It's weird. The good thing about Harry Clark is you get a number of members for each seat. So there's 5 electorates. Yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of right as a way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm happy to admit the things I don't know. I know enough about politics to kind of make informed decisions, I think, without being too arrogant. But the nitty-gritty, I never did, politics at school. I should at some point, sequester myself away and actually, read up on everything. But yeah, it's difficult. We shouldn't have parties and governments at all. Just everyone here be independent. I think there's definitely an argument for that. The number of times I've seen, certainly in British politics, that you'll have a situation where people can't vote for what they believe in. Well, actually, you mean, yes, that's true. You end up with a lot of tactical voting to get people out and stuff like that, which shouldn't be necessary. But actually, even as MPs, you end up with MPs in Parliament who want to vote based on either their own principles or looking at the polling in their constituency of what the people they represent want them to do, and they can't do it because of whipping, essentially. So you've got a situation where they are told by their party's leader via their party whip, you must vote this way, or you'll be kicked out. There will be consequences, and that shouldn't be the case. When it comes down to it, and this is a very naive rule, but the principle still holds. If you're electing representatives, that representative should be able to represent their constituency and should be able to do what they are asking them to do and vote for. So in that sense, not having parties would make sense. If every person voted for the representative they think best represented them, and then that representative could then vote the way that they have been empowered to do so, you'd probably end up with a better representation across government, but it would be very, very messy. But it might be a good thing. Who knows? Let's move away from politics. It is incredibly interesting, and not just interesting in a hypothetical sense. It's shaping the world. But let's move on to other things. So, Crit Awards closed, technically early this morning because of time zones. So thank you very much for anyone who voted for me in my category. For innovation in the tabletop RPG space. I really do appreciate it. I do not expect to win. There were just awesome people in my category, and not just awesome people, but well-known awesome people as well. I suspect Rascal News will win in my category just because they are very well-known. And I'm not saying they're not deserving of it, but they have better PR than I do. They are well-established. But thank you very much for voting for me. It genuinely is a pleasure to be nominated, and I fully expect I will not be disappointed when I lose. So there we go. Any other bits and pieces of housekeeping? So the kind of evening work I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, which has kind of been marking related, that's finished now, which is good. Get a bit more time back, so I'm back into editing more of Shought Thorts. So I front-loaded what I was doing. So I recorded and edited 5 episodes well ahead of time so that I had a bit of slack in my schedule, knowing the fact I was going to be busy this month. So the 5th of those episodes actually comes out this Friday, and then a fortnight from then I'll need to release the 6th episode, which I'm halfway through editing now. So I'm not going to miss a week, which is good, but I just need to do a bit of work over the next couple of weeks to edit up the next 3 episodes. But those are looking really good. I will give you a little bit of exclusive news on that one. So the 5th episode, which has already been announced, that comes out this Friday, that's Dr. Emily Friedman, who was an absolute delight. And it's lovely to speak to someone in the tabletop RPG, but also education space, as I do sit myself. And she's just awesome. Great to have a chat with her about all of that. So that's a really great episode. The one I'm editing right now is with artist Ellie Jordan, who produces wonderful things, especially if you like pin-ups of elves. If that's your jam, go follow Ellie Jordan. You'll like what she does. Yeah, really enjoying editing that one up. She's a fellow fan of Farscape, and that comes up during our interview, so that's wonderful. So that'll be in that'll be episode 6. Episode 7 is with Izza, aka Evil Clever Dog, who just produces amazing cosplay and props. Seriously, if you don't follow Evil Clever Dog on like all the platforms, you are missing out on a visual treat. Her Assassin's Creed cosplays are magnificent. And she produced like a puppet of a baby Triceratops and stuff like that. Absolutely wonderful. And the 3rd of the episodes I'm doing right now, which is where am I up to, episode 8. That was an unexpected one, this one. We ended up talking and we said, let's do an episode. So that is with Red Wormling. So for those who don't know about Red Wormling, aka the now 7-year-old DM, is Red Wormling's dad. Has, one second, my door has just gone. I'll be back in just a second. And we're back. Well, it technically was my door. It was a pamphlet going very noisily through my letterbox. So where were we? Yes. So Red Wormling, the 7-year-old DM, was the 4-year-old DM, obviously, and then 5-year-old and 6-year-old. His dad tweets like a load of the things he says and does during his games. And it's wonderful. So we did an interview. I didn't interview him directly because I can't believe a 7-year-old on my stream. It wouldn't be fair. And I wouldn't want to do that. So essentially his dad asked him all the questions in advance. And we talked through his answers, etc. It's a really great interview. I'm looking forward to you seeing it. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I am in really bad shape. I kind of ran down the stairs, ran back up, and now I'm out of breath. That's not good. I've probably got a lurg of some sort. 1 second. Right, without panting too much, I really need to sort it out. I really need to get more kind of cardio into my life. I should do that. So yeah, really nice round of episodes coming up, and that will take us through. And then I will at some point soon get into recording even more, because I'm really enjoying it, and the response has been nice. And I would like to know, I put a poll up on this already. The original plan was, I mean, these are YouTube episodes, but I would like to stick it up as a podcast. But I want to know kind of if there's an interest for that. It seems like a logical thing to do, but sadly, stuff ain't free. So if I do decide to do it as a podcast, if I don't want it to be kind of just bombarded full of ads, I kind of have to pay a subscription for it. So I'm only going to do that if there's an interest for that. So if you've enjoyed the Shought Thorts episodes I do, and you think, yeah, actually, I would prefer to do this listen to this during my commute or something like that, and you prefer it in a podcast format, do let me know, and I will try and do that, because that shouldn't be terribly hard. That shouldn't be hard. So, what are we actually kind of talking about? I went off on lots of tangents there. So the big thing I wanted to talk about, this is unexpected, right? You know when you see a trailer for a movie, or you see you used to see the back of a DVD box and stuff like that, and you look at the things they classify films based on, and some of them are understandable but seem gratuitous, like this is rated 18 for extreme bloody violence and multiple cases of extreme profanity and, you know, full frontal nudity and just everything you can think of. And then you look at the other end and you look at kids movies and you see like, this has been rated U because there is some slapstick violence and mild peril, or something like that. And they've clearly got to explain what this stuff is. Mild peril. That's what I want to talk about here. So I did something at the weekend, which I've not done before. So we were looking what to do. It was very, very rainy here over the weekend, so we couldn't really go out. Oh, I suppose we could have, but we would have just looked like drowned rats by the end of it. And we thought, what should we do? Well, we decided to take our little one, who is 4.5, to the cinema. Now, we've not done this before. Her aunt has taken her to the cinema about a year ago to see, I want to say it was the Minions sequel. She lasted about halfway through it, which, good for her. But, there wasn't really any chance she was going to sit through the entire movie. So we thought, well, let's try it. We had a look, and there's a cheap cinema that's not too far from us. We didn't want to spend, the kind of ridiculous cinema prices that there are right now. There's somewhere not too far from us that is like a kids club that's like £3.50 per ticket, which is really nice. Nice little cozy small cinema. And we saw they had the new Garfield movie on, which I had kind of no intention of seeing. But we thought, yeah, that'd be right. So we showed the little one the trailer, and she seemed like she wanted to see it. So we went to see it. Oh my God. That was an emotional roller coaster. That is the only way I can describe it. An emotional roller coaster. She is an empathetic little thing, our daughter. She really is. So we've kind of seen this before. If she's watching an episode, she likes Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which is a wonderful cartoon, by the way, absolutely amazing. But anytime like Spidey and Gwen and Miles are like captured, she says, "Daddy, how are they going to get out? How are they going to get out?" I don't know. I've not seen this episode, but are they going to get out? Are they going to get out? I've got to reassure them, don't worry, it'll all work out in the end. It will be fine. That's what we had with Garfield. So, when Garfield and everything was happy, she was very happy. But there is plot, there is drama, there are bits that don't go so well, and even I'm sorry, there are going to be some spoilers here for the Garfield movie. I do apologise if you're intending on seeing it. It starts off with a little bit of, how John found Garfield, and Garfield outside in the cold in the rain in a box. And you could see there were emotions forming. She was concerned by this, which is good. We've trained her well to look after animals. And there's bits later on when they get captured. And she was saying, "Daddy, can we leave? Can we leave?" And of course, if she said she wanted to leave, we will take her out. But we said, just stay with it a second. It'll be okay. Do you want to sit on Mummy? Do you want to sit on Daddy? There were tears at some stages. And my wife, I think my daughter gets, not that I am a cold-hearted bastard, but my wife is particularly empathetic. And I think that's passed on to our daughter. There were moments in this where both mother and child, there were some tears. But it was all happy at the end. And actually, it went the other way as well. Like, there's some really heartwarming stuff in that as well. You find out, again, spoilers, sorry, that, like, Garfield's dad has every day been climbing a tree and looking out for him to see that he's happy with John, and eating lasagna and all of that. And she got it. It was... And it wasn't just flat out them saying, "Oh, I was there every day." It was kind of things... It was this whole little point of, like, he doesn't really trust his dad, and his dad said, "No, I went up there, I climbed the tree, and I put a little scratch mark on the tree every time I did," and Garfield doesn't believe him. And then Garfield climbs the tree, and you see it's covered in all these kind of hatch marks. And without it being said, our daughter got it. She got it. And, then happy smiles and happy crying. But we came out, oh my God, that was a lot. That was a lot. I mean, she was so glad. When she came out, there were still tears on her face, and she said that was a really good movie. But it's like, oh wow, that was a lot. So I'm very glad we went, and I think it was good. And it was, the film was 90 minutes or something like that. And she sat through it all and enjoyed it, which is really good. Photo style. The kids asking how the characters will escape when captured. Make up a song. From the Captain Cabinet's trapped to the cabinets. Can he get out? When we go out, of course he will. I like it. So that was a lot. That was a lot. But I'm really glad we went. But yeah, it's weird. You don't. you don't kind of think. There are times you look at kids' films ratings and you think of the obvious stuff. You think of the obvious things like this is objectively scary, so of course you don't show kids that. Like my wife and I were talking about this about like Christmas movies and stuff like that. It's like there are so many Christmas movies we'd love to show our daughter, but she's not old enough yet. And we talk about things like Gremlins. Gremlins is an amazing film, and Gizmo is incredibly cute, but I think fundamentally the bad Gremlins, they're quite scary. There's something fundamentally very scary about them. Ooh, something happened. Hey, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Always nice. We're now up to, I believe, 81 followers, which is cool. I'm trying to hit 100 by my birthday. That would be fantastic. Hey, and a little dino dance. Thank you for that. Kind of thoughts derailed here because of dinosaurs, which is not a sentence I would normally expect to say, but maybe it should be. What was I talking about? Yeah, so there's things that you think are objectively scary. We go, absolutely, that would be horrifying, and without even going to extremes of violence, just like there's something fundamentally scary about like the bad Gremlins, just the way they look, you can see that absolutely scaring the living crap out of kids. But then you forget about how much they pick up on mood and tone and emotion. They can tell when the way that someone is talking that someone is sad or that someone is angry. And it's that mild peril thing. And, I understood it before, but I don't think I really understood it until I saw it during that experience. But I'm glad we went, and she's glad we went. So it was a good time. But there was ice cream afterwards. Ice cream was required. So I wanted to talk a little bit in the last little bit of this about movie ratings. I was thinking about what to talk about this morning. I did want to talk about the mild peril thing. I want to talk a little bit about movie ratings because this is an odd thing. This is a deep dive. If you ever go kind of searching through Google, hello, wonderful awesome monkey. Very nice for you to be here, and thank you very much for chatting. I appreciate it. And thank you for jump cuddles. Jump cuddles, I think, are a very good thing to be having here. And thank you for the follow. You're awesome. You're all awesome. Be awesome, stay awesome, eat cheesecake or a suitable cheesecake substitute, you delectable meatballs. I've never said that before. I've heard Kay say it so many times. I feel honoured that you have graced us with your cheesecake and meatball-y presence. So thank you so much. So yeah, if you ever want a weird deep dive, go into UK or even US film ratings. There are ads going to be coming up soon. If I stop them, unfortunately, I will just kind of trundle over the end of the stream. So I will try not to be too interesting during this time. Or, if you'd like to chuck me a Prime subscription, you can. Also, because I'm quite a small streamer, sometimes it'll say adverts are going to run and they just don't actually run. So you may get luck out there. But if you want to chuck me a Prime subscription, that would be awesome. Feel free to do that. Or you may be on Turbo. Turbo's cool. You just, have no adverts and you just pay money to everyone you watch. It's cool. Anyway. So film ratings. So in the UK, we have not a huge number of film ratings, but it is different to the US. So we have U. There used to be UC as well, but that seems to have gone as well. So that's the lowest. We then have PG, which is parental guidance. We have 12/12A, which is an oddity that I'll get onto in a second. We have 15, 18, and R18. So the R18, if you don't know what it is, I imagine there's some people here who know what that is, but R18 is essentially for pornography. It is restricted 18. That is, like something like a Quentin Tarantino film would be an 18, an R18 would be, porn. 12A and 12 is an oddity. 12A, so if you're looking at buying a film or renting a film or something like that, 12A doesn't exist. You've got to be 12 in order to buy it. 12A was created for cinemas. I believe it was created for the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. Because essentially, 12A is you've got to be 12 or have someone with you who is over a certain age. I don't think it's over 12. I think you've got to be 12 or you've got to have like an adult with you, I think. And essentially it was created for Spider-Man because it was too violent. And if you look at the end of that first Tobey Maguire movie, the final fight with the Green Goblin, you can see why. It was too violent to be just given a PG, but they did want kids to be able to see it if their parents thought it was okay. So they created 12A as a thing. So, and you end up with oddities with the American system, like a PG-13 movie sits somewhere between like a 12 and a 15. So you see it kind of go either way. And one of the strange things here is America has specific rules about if you've got this, and that, but not one of those, you get this rating. Whereas over here, it's more of a general feel. Like the guidance that is given for classification is about these are the sorts of things you are looking for, but it is not like a checklist. It's not if there's a one of those and two of those and five of those in a 30-minute period. No, it's automatically this. That would kind of be easier. It's somewhat ridiculous. Though there are still elements of that sometimes, but I don't think it's a strict set of rules. I think internally they have a kind of list of historical precedents that they use for stuff, but if you submit your film, if you're a film director, you can't cite precedent on other people's stuff. You can't say, why did I get this when they only got that? I mean, you could try, but it doesn't actually hold anything. But I think they do it internally. They go, well, actually, we gave it this, so it's probably going to fall into this bucket and stuff like that. But it's an oddity. It really is. And there are some weird ratings out there. I was doing a bit of thinking about this in advance and did a bit of research on this one. And here are some odd ones that I've seen myself. Going back to Farscape. If you've not seen Farscape, my God, you should go watch Farscape. It's brilliant. Naughty sci-fi with Jim Henson Muppets. It's fantastic. It really is. But there was an episode of it that was rated 18 when it came out on DVD. And it was rated 18. As far as I understand it, everything that I've read about this says that this is the case, so I'm going to believe it. It's rated 18 because in one particular sequence, Claudia Black's character headbutts someone else. And the person she headbutts, in fact, is a Muppet. It's one of the Muppet characters, it's Rigel. But a violent headbutt kind of ticks one of these precedent boxes of, if you've got a violent headbutt in something that's 45 minutes long, or maybe in the second headbutt, right, it's going to 18. Which is crazy. It really is. But you kind of see where it's coming from. If it was actually, you're a raging bull, you see someone headbutt someone else, and there's spurts of blood and stuff like that. But it's a Muppet character. Which I kind of like, because I guess from an objective, childish point of view, it's the Power Rangers thing. If a character is violently hitting another character, it almost doesn't matter if it's a real person, if it's a stunt person, they never actually make contact, or if it's a Muppet or it's an animated character, you are seeing a character beating the living crap out of another character. And if you're worried about kids replicating it, that's all that matters. They see a character hitting another character violently, that should be enough. Whereas an adult, you look at it and go, you hit a Muppet, for God's sake. Other than potentially hurting the guy's fingers who's running that Muppet. It's not that weird. And yet, it does totally make sense. Angel, the Buffy spin-off. I remember that had an episode in the first season that was 18 rated, and I've not quite found out why, but I suspect it's because one episode includes torture. But it doesn't actually include torture. It includes kind of implied torture. The episode in question has the character of Faith torturing Wesley. And you kind of see pre-torture and post-torture. Like, she says she's going to torture him and is holding a piece of broken glass. And when you next cut to that scene, Wesley's all cut up. And then she throws away the piece of broken glass and says, let's switch to something else, and gets out. It's not a blowtorch, but effectively I think it's a can of aerosol with a lighter or something. So she's clearly going to she's threatening to torture him with that. You don't see anything, but you kind of see the effects of it, and the threat is there that it is, you put it all together into torture. And I think that's why it's an 18. So it's interesting that without seeing anything, because you don't see that much blood, you just see where cuts have been. The threat and the whole picture you put together, they went 18. Interesting. Another odd one. I was racking my head on these ones. I don't know if anyone has ever seen the film The Aristocrats. Now, let me clarify, if everyone has to, anyone who has this conversation, we're not talking about Aristocats, the Disney film, we're talking about The Aristocrats, which, if you are not aware of it, is a movie talking about the aristocrats joke, which is like the filthiest improv joke that exists. It's kind of like an inside joke among comedians. They tell it to each other and they try and one-up each other in terms of obscenity and grossness and stuff like that. So the film is talking heads. It's interviewing comedians, getting them to tell some versions of this joke, and generally talking about kind of the culture of telling jokes and, what makes it funny, what makes it not funny. Is it about shock? Is it about crossing lines and stuff like that? It's boiling down to, what do people find offensive? What do people not find offensive? When is it okay to take someone on a journey and tell an offensive joke? Is it ever okay? So there's a lot covered there. And it is worth seeing, and it is very funny. It genuinely is. But it is a film that's talking heads, and clearly the language is obscene. The pictures they are painting with their words are every kind of wrong. They're talking about scatological stuff, they're talking about bestiality, they're talking about incest, they're going every kind of trope they can go with to make a joke over the top and offensive. Obviously, you never see it. And yet, the film, when it came out in cinemas, was unrated. It wasn't even an 18, it was unrated. Now, I'm not quite sure what they meant on who could go in and who couldn't, but the British Film Broadcasting, whatever the name of the organisation is, refused to put a rating on it. Now, I think that cinemas meant, from a cinema perspective, they said you've got to be 18 in order to go in. But they wouldn't even deem it at 18 because what they were talking about was so obscene. Weirdness. And the last one I'll talk about on this kind of oddity of things that just don't make sense is how that violence and sex are considered in terms of film ratings. Now, I looked at this. There is, it does the mean rounds every so often. There is a rule in America for the MPAA, Motion Picture Authority of America, I think, who rate films, that a PG-13 movie can contain one usage of the word fuck, provided it is not used in the context of sex. So there's two interesting things here. One, you can drop one F-bomb into a movie, and people joke about, if you could take a PG-13 film and chuck an F-bomb in there, where would it go? And people give amazing examples in like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, you can use it once, but you can't use it in the context of sex. So people can swear, they can be crass and offensive, they can even be threatening with it, but they can't use it in a sexual context, the act of it. Which is odd. The fact that we think that violence, if you had to rank the two things, that violence is more okay than sex. Now, clearly there is a Venn diagram with like sexual violence, which is a whole other thing. But in terms of things we will allow people to see at various ages, the fact that violence is deemed more acceptable than sex is weird. It is. So let's put that in context. You could have in two films, let's say talking heads, you don't see anything at all. You could have one film where someone says, sorry for the crassness of this, but I'm going to give the example here. You could have someone say in one film, I'm going to fuck you up so hard, a threat. And in the other one, you could have someone go, hey, it likes that, my apple likes that apparently. In the other film, you can have one character say, I'm going to fuck you so hard, talking about an impending sex scene. And in the first one of those, that could potentially get a PG-13 rating. The second one can't, because it's in the context of sex. So strange. So strange that we built a society with our Western whatever, where violence is more acceptable than sex. And the final weird example I'll give it on that one. Look at that ages of consent. You can have sex at 16, but you can't see a film with it in, or certain films with it in until you're 18. Certainly an R18. Let's take the pornography example. You could be having sex at 16, but you couldn't watch two people actually having sex until you're 18. That's weird. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's weird. Our weird Western puritanical values. Okay. Oddness. And this one. There we go. Oh, last thought I'll leave you on this one. It's not on the kind of sex thing. Psychological horror. Where does that fall? That's somewhere where I think the UK system might be better. Because if you're talking psychological horror and threat and things that make you go, ugh, That's difficult to classify. It's difficult to classify what is the thing in that scene that makes you feel uneasy. It's a combination of factors. They're very good at doing it. It's a combination of lighting and music and stuff like that. And, you maybe can't see anything. There are absolutely films where you don't see anything scary. And yet there are so many hints at something that make you feel really freaked out. But if you wanted to do an American-style checklist of, do we see a knife? Do we see a monster? Do we see someone be disemboweled? I don't think we do. Very hard to do. Very hard. But there we go. That is my whistle-stop tour of the oddities of the film rating system. And I would love to hear your weird examples of stuff. There are some great ones in terms of films that were regraded both ways. 2 off the top of my head. Terminator used to be an 18, it's now a 15. It was reclassified for a re-release in the year 2000. Jaws went the other way. Jaws used to be a PG. It got reclassified as a 12 or 12A when they did a theatrical re-release in 2012, apparently. I have no idea how anyone thought Jaws was acceptable as a PG. Again, it's that threat thing. Strange times. There we go. Okay, that's me. That's me rambling today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for the new follows. I really do appreciate it. Let's wrap all this up with the standard spiel. So first of all, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for following. That is just fantastic. Delectable meatballs that you are. If you'd like to follow me in other places without stalking me, you can best find me on Twitter, where I'm at DCBradshawRPG. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I'm at DCBradshaw.com. In terms of things I am trying to boost, in terms of my expansion of my presence and business and all of that, following me here is fantastic. If you would ever want to chuck me your Prime subscription, that would be amazing as well. It really would. But you are under no obligation to do so. If you could follow me on YouTube, that would be amazing. As I said, on YouTube goes all my VODs of all this stuff, as well as original content like my Shought Thorts interview series. So if you could follow me on YouTube, I've just chucked the link in the chat there. If you just want the direct link, it's youtube.com/@DCBradshaw. Again, I'm trying to get to 100 followers by my birthday at the end of next month. That would be amazing if you could follow me there. There is lots of fun times to be had there, so that would be wonderful. And if you're being particularly generous, I do have a Ko-Fi account. Thank you, Amon. I can confirm Shought Thorts is a lot of fun. Thank you. I genuinely do appreciate that. I'm putting a lot of time into it, so I am glad that people are enjoying it. So please follow, please share with other people your favourite episodes. There's loads of shorts on there as well to tease it for people. Please like episodes, please comment on them. Anything that boosts the bloody algorithm, because it's a pain in the ass, especially for smaller creators. So that would be wonderful if you could do that. If you do want to help me financially at all, other than subscribing here, you could go to my Ko-Fi. I have a link, and I always point in the wrong place because of camera reversal. It's there. Yay, you got it right. Ko-Fi.com/DCBradshawRPG. You can subscribe for £3 a month. All the stuff goes towards let's point in the right place. Can you get it right? There we go. It goes to funding the Tabletop RPG Creators Directory, which costs me about £180 every year in order to do the hosting part of that. So the money just goes towards that, and as a bonus you get exclusive tabletop RPG content, you get early sight of stuff, you get updates, you get a load of goodness, you get discounts if you buy stuff directly from me from my Ko-Fi. So £3 a month. If you can spare it, that would be awesome. If you can't, that's totally cool. The economy is shit right now, so if you can't support me, that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's see if there's anyone about for the raiding. I can see that Tig is about. So I think we are going to do a raid of Tig. She is playing Fallout 3, which is awesome. So let's go do a raid of Tig if my Twitch would like to behave itself. I don't have any shout outs or anything like that. I do when I do raiding. I just hope you have a great time. So I will start all of that off. It seems to be working, so we will do a countdown for that in just a second. And I hope you have a really, really awesome day. We'll be back on Wednesday, probably at midday UK time, where we'll continue to play Warlock of Firetop Mountain. All right, Take care. Have a great day. Bye.